The special meeting for budgetary purposes is hereby called to order. We ask that those of you present with us please stand for the invocation to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, we come to give you thanks for this day, for all that you have done for us, for all that you continue to do. Again, we ask for your protection of our first responders, of those who have been affected by this pandemic. We ask that you, Father, protect our community. Help us in our decision-making process, that we may endeavor to do what is right, according to your word and according to your way. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To the listening audience, this board is without a quorum. As you know, we need to have at least 3 board members present in order to conduct the business of the town. In the absence of a quorum, we cannot take any votes and we really cannot make any decisions. But this is a budget development strategic planning session, and it is our intent to enlighten you, those of you who are listening, and those of you who are taking an active role in what we do in Spring Lake. We will have some presentations, we will have comments by the 2 board members who are present, and or questions by the 2 board members who are present, but we cannot take any votes and we really cannot conduct any business. But this is a planning session, and with that in mind, we hope to be able to plan our expenses as well as our revenue for the coming fiscal year 2020 to 2021. Now, we will go on with the planning session, and that is what we're committed to do. But no votes, no action will be taken today. But thank you for tuning in. At this time, we will turn it over to Mr. Gerald. Alderwoman Jackson.
Before we get started, Mayor, I'd like to give my condolences to Alderman O'Gara. He's not here today due to death in his family, so please keep his family in prayer.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Gerald and Ms. Tucker. Ms. Tucker is our interim finance director, finance manager, and I understand that and I see the fruit of her labor, that she has worked very hard and diligently to present to us what she has to present, and Mr. Gerald. So they will be tag teaming to help us understand and be able to pass, when the time comes, our budget for the 2020 to 2021 fiscal year. At this point, I yield to Mr. Gerald, the town manager.
Thank you, Mayor, Board of Aldermen. I have before you the PowerPoint presentation for the budget strategic planning session. Page 2, budget development. A lot of time, like I said, I'd like to thank my counterpart, Ms. Gail, for helping us put this PowerPoint together, as well as the accounting information that you have before you. The budget overview will cover emerging financial obligations, possible capital outlays. Those are big ticket line items that we plan to purchase or want to purchase. Preliminary interviews, preliminary revenue productions, and existing debt. So on to page 3. COVID-19 is severely impacting the budget. So a lot of the aforementioned items that were in the capital outlays, a lot of those will not be accomplished. And the ones that I did put in here will probably be looked at, I'm recommending halfway through the budget year. COVID-19 is creating economic slowdowns. Those economic slowdowns are a reduction in the rate that we receive our taxes, which supports the general fund, and also the water and sewer that supports our enterprise funds. As you know, the governor passed, I think it was a resolution, state resolution, that we had to allow people to carry on without cutting off their water bills. So I think the same thing was done for car tax. So that is affecting our budget. Our emerging financial obligations, the U-444B utility agreement, we have a payment of $211,000. This is, the last payment will be due in December, thank goodness. I think this was one of 3 installments that we had to pay on that line. We do have one more payment of $167,000, which was for the circle that was done at the south end of Main Street. Once we make those 2 payments, that's like 300-something thousand, we'll be done with those type of payments from DOT. DOT, from what I'm understanding, the legislation that has passed, that they can't just move water lines and not tell us how much that fee is going to be. PwC is also imposing a rate increase. It's a 5.1% rate increase, which is about $51,000, which we're going to probably absorb. I wouldn't dare ask a rate increase during the COVID-19, so the city's just going to absorb that cost. The retirement plan for the firefighters, police officers went up 17%, and the medical cost is expected to go up another $35,000. So we're going to absorb most of that. However, I am going to recommend to the board that the employee contribution go up to $40 a month. Now it is currently $25 a month. So that's what we have as far as emerging financial obligations.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gerald, you're saying you want to increase the employee benefits from 20 to 40?
20, I think it's $25 to 40.
So they're paying out of their check now $25 a month?
$25 a month.
For their insurance?
Yes.
Okay, you wanted to go up to 40?
To 40. Okay, moving on. Capital outlays. These are kind of iffy because, like I said, our stormwater fees are collected through our taxes, and the tax numbers are very askew at this moment. So I'm suggesting that halfway through the year, we look at the possibility of finally completing the Goodyear Drive. I know we have residents out there that have been waiting to do that ditching project. What it is we usually have severe flooding. I'm going to go out there this morning to see how we're doing in that area because it rained, I think, for 2 days here. I haven't gotten a complaint over there, so we did do some work. But there's cascade flooding that comes off of Fort Bragg that overwhelms our stormwater system that floods people's yards out there. So the Goodyear project is to reopen that ditch in the back of their houses, which will flow that water from the road into that ditch to the back of their house, down the ditch, then back under the road, back into that main outfall, and flow back into the river.
Can you have stormwater, can she go out there now while that water is freshly running and assess that? Because I crossed 2 rivers last night, and with the rain that has come from the west, those rivers are rising.
Yes, sir.
And those rivers went up. So while, this may be at the peak, it would be a good time for her to assess what, plus the fact that it's daylight, and go ahead out there and take some pictures and give us a visual so that this becomes more than, speculation.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. So those are the other things. And our street sweeper, as you know, has been down, and you can tell the streets are not as clean as they usually are. It's a safety issue. So, but it's also, like I said, a cost issue with the taxes coming in. Now the municipal software, I was really ready to start buying that because that's where we had the problem with the trailer parks. Our software only reads 30 days after the meter has been read before. The new software will allow the reading of the meter instantaneously, so you can tell when you have a leak. But just so you know, we billed for $3.34 million. As of today, we've collected only $2.7 million. That leaves an outstanding balance of $69,000. That's due to the governor allowing people water to stay on, so we can't cut off water. We have late fees that we don't charge for. We can charge, I think at the end of June, we could probably charge, but more than likely, you're gonna have to put those people on a payment plan, and that payment plan is still gonna delay those funds coming in. So that's another way that COVID is affecting our bottom line, which affects the equipment we need to better read and monitor and be a good steward of people's resources.
Quick question. So we're not cutting any water off if people hadn't paid their bill, and then we're not charging any late fees. So when we go to open everything back up, they're still gonna have to pay the past due.
They gotta pay the past due amount, and more likely, Ms. Renee is gonna put them on a payment plan.
Now, does that include the late fees, or that won't?
I don't think that will include the late fees.
So we won't charge late fees.
So you won't have a late fee.
Gotcha.
So that's revenue loss.
And this is a matter of optics. Now, can you, determine, Bernard, if the general public can see, this slide presentation?
No, they can't.
Okay, now, I think that's part of what we wanted to do here, is share with them our actual documentation. Is that right, Mr. Jeremy?
Yes, sir.
Because if they can't see it, all they can do is listen to what we're saying. But some folks are visual learners, so you may have to reposition that so that when someone, if they're zooming in, they can see what we're trying to say and get a better understanding. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's coming from this camera here,
Right.
which is face towards you all right here. It has to be a while. I have to take time to move this camera
Right.
in this
We'll give you
position.
time. You're the technician. We will give you time. We'll pause so that the public can see what we're talking about in the absence of their documentation. Right? Am I okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem, because we do want them to not only hear but also see. Okay, so we'll give you time to reposition your camera.
Okay. I'm gonna cut this.
Doing it in a minute.
Yeah,
Pause.
just so the public can see what we're doing.
Okay, I'm gonna cut the sound off. Okay.
That's fine.
you can't be talking.
Mute this one. Our apologies to the listening audience, but we did have some internal workings that we had to refine. Now we are able to present to those of you who are viewing this presentation. You can now see the exact nature of the things that we are discussing in this session. So Mr. Gerald is kind enough to go back to the beginning of the presentation, not to do the whole presentation because we also plan to post this presentation on our social media as well. Okay, Mr. Gerald, back to you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, Board of Aldermen. Back on page 2, the budget development overview. You have the emerging financial obligations, possible capital outlays, followed by preliminary revenue projection and existing debt. Moving on, page 3, COVID-19 has severely impacted this budgeting process. We have economic slowdowns. It's affecting budgets throughout the state. So our budget is not the only one that is being affected like this, and it is definitely affecting everybody's budgeting process. On to number 4, emerging financial obligations. The U44B utility agreement. We have our last payment that's due this December. It's $211,000. We also additionally have one for $167,000 that was due to the circle that was put in on the south end of Main Street. The good news, what I have to say about this is that those types of payments should be a thing of the past because the state legislature has deemed it unnecessary for DOT to charge for such payments. Number 2, PwC has a slight increase of 5.1%, which is $51,000. That's in addition to what we pay. I am not recommending that we raise water and sewer rates during this pandemic. The retirement plan for the firefighters and police fighters has gone up 17%. The medical and dental cost has increased by $35,000. So I'm recommending that the employee's contribution goes from $25 a month to $40 a month. Moving on, possible capital outlay projects. These are the big ticket items that we were wanting to fix. As the mayor mentioned, Goodyear Drive, we have gotten our stormwater manager out on site to verify the flooding over in Goodyear. Now, we have done some remedial work out there, but it has not been completed. That project will open up the ditch on the back end of everybody's houses on Goodyear Drive, and that will hopefully flow the water back to the ditch across the street, which will take it on out to Lower Little River. Our street sweeper is basically on its last leg. It's about 10 years old, a little bit older than 10 years old. It was bought, I think, in 2007. So it's about at the end of its life. And our municipal software, that's one that I really want to look at because that definitely controls how we get our billings out. So let's say if you were to have a leak, we wouldn't catch it now with our software until 30 days after. This new software, it would start the process of us being able to catch it immediately, and then we would be able to notify that homeowner. As I was stating earlier, we billed for about $3.4 million, and due to the COVID and the governor stepping in to provide some relief for the citizens for the state of North Carolina, We can't collect any late fees, non-payment, so we have an outstanding amount of $69,000. And it gives us an amount collected as of this point to 2.7 million, when we bill for about 3.34 million. So, excuse me, that is the shortfall we have to account for.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to let the community know that, we have Alderman O'Gara here on the phone conference call, so we are now in quorum form. We do have a quorum now. So just to make everybody aware of what's going on.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So moving on and trying to be respectful of everybody's time. Revenue projection. Here's where it's getting kind of iffy. The property taxes are slated to go down. Now, as a board member did point out, they're supposed to come in, but the state and counties have given people time to pay them. However, everybody has a due date. So our budget is due to be passed in July. So we have conservatively set the number at 7% lower than what we're expecting to have come in. Now, we could have more than that come in, or we could have less than that come in. It all depends on how people are recovering from the COVID-19. Now, we do have a stable population here. We usually have soldiers or retirees. But the only thing is, since COVID is affecting families, the older retirees could be helping out their children or their family members. And the same thing could be going for the ones who are employed by the base. So our concern is that there may be a delay in them paying their taxes. So if there's a delay in them paying their taxes, then there's a delay in us getting our tax returns. Our sales tax, the county doesn't really want to come off of those numbers, and I understand, because people are not really spending the money. People who actually have money are not actually spending the money. So that's why it's going down.
Yes.
Good.
Is there a concern about a decrease in property values because of?
I am worried about that. Now, I think we do our, I could be wrong, we do our evals every 8 years, every 4 years here. I think we do it every 8 years or 4 years, and they were devalued whenever they last did it, right? So I don't think we have to necessarily worry about that right now, but that is a concern of how much your money is worth in Spring Lake. Because how much your money is worth will affect your taxes, will affect how much you actually pay on taxes. So that is a
But the valuation you said happens every 8 years and happened recently, so the COVID situation won't affect it.
The COVID shouldn't affect that. It shouldn't affect that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's taxes are a mystery to me. Like I said, my background is really water and sewer. So what they're saying is just the taxes that they're getting in is fluctuating. It fluctuates. So it's hard for us to set our budget. So that's kind of where we are. And then the sales tax is up and down. Now the restaurants are open to 50%. So that may help somewhat, because we are heavily restaurant based, sales tax based. But we don't know. We don't know.
And one thing too, if you would, when you do the next presentation, show us the numbers for 2018-19.
Okay.
Now, we do project and we do feel like things are going to go down until we recover. But if you will show us where we were,
Okay.
that would be a good barometer as to where we possibly could get back to when all things are settled, whether it's next year or whenever. But I would love to see those numbers.
Yes, sir.
Because we know that businesses, especially our restaurants, some are actually closed now.
Right.
And others are carry out only, as we all know. But I would just love to be able to compare those.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Mayor. The same with the power bill. The power bill has been cut, but the state has not told us how much they're going to cut it by. So last year's amount, and that was a good point by the mayor, was about $265,000, and they're going to cut that but they didn't tell us whether they're gonna cut it 10%, 15%, 20%, I don't know. I know DOT had to go under some major,
They're on the furlough, and DOT is doing a, cut across the board between 10 to 25%, and that power bill is under that. So they're cutting like, I think like 680 million, and they started furlough, and they've gone from the top going down. So this also affects us on our side.
And one other source of revenue, and I don't see it here, is the DMV registered vehicles in Spring Lake.
Well, see, the thing with that, sir, when the governor did what he did, he also put out that they didn't have to do, there was no late fees, anything on that, so that's also going to affect us too. So that money will also get cut down. But when I talked to the lady from Cumberland County, as she said, they can't give us, they're not gonna try to give any figures until sometime after July, because they really don't know. But it will be heavily, that will affect us also.
Well, I know one person who has paid taxes on 3 vehicles, so that's $30.
we appreciate it. We appreciate it. We appreciate every little bit we can get. The water sewer revenue, we're projecting it down 12%. We're putting it down to about 3.2 million. The original, I think if you look back, I think it'll show where we did 3.6 million, and we didn't get anywhere near that this year, so we're gonna project it down. Now, like I said, typically the water rates are stable, but when the governor passed that state statute or his order, not having people to pay the water bill, that bump in the road hit us. So as Mr. Z stated, we'll get that money, but you'll probably just get it for the water they use. You won't get it in late fees, and you won't get it in reconnection fees. That's just money we just gave to the public, and we just ate it. And
The water will also be decreased because of the hidden businesses, correct?
Yeah.
well, the water, yeah, you're gonna whenever you lose your.
Do we know what percentage of the water is used by homes versus businesses?
Hey, Mr. Joe, can I break this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the water bill, and we make so much money on late charges. We're also gonna miss out on also.
That's right. That's true.
Thank you.
That's true. What were you saying? You were saying?
No, I was just saying that with the water bill, some of it is going to go to houses, some of it's going to go to businesses. Now with the houses, they're going to keep consuming the same amount of water.
Right.
They just won't pay it until later.
Right.
That's one thing. But with the businesses, they will actually consume less water because they have less business, right?
That's right.
So do we know what percentage of this revenue comes from businesses and what percentage comes from homes?
I could find that out. I don't want to shotgun that answer.
It might give us a better understanding of what long-term hit we can expect in revenue.
With that being said, then with the businesses being open now 50%, so it's gonna be more of an increase in the water now.
I mean, it'll be a
with the
relative
businesses.
Yeah.
Is that right?
It'll be like you said, a small increase.
So
It's
even,
still an
so first of all, businesses that are opening up, they're still going to be opening up at half capacity. And there's still going to be social distancing, and people, they probably should be not going out as much anyway, and there's going to be that kind of hesitancy not to go out anyway. And then also everyone's going to have less money because they have less jobs, so there's going to be less money on these things. So all these things together are going to impact restaurant sales. So even if they're open in, part-time, it's not going to make a huge difference.
It's not gonna make that much of a difference.
But even right now, a lot of restaurants, they have takeout options, right? And some restaurants are doing very well with that, and some are not doing very well. And that depends on their business and their business
You
model.
got some businesses that won't be able to open back up because of
Because
this.
they can't do
So,
all the
yeah.
business.
And some businesses are thriving, right? Like the pizza and delivery business are doing
It's
much better
thriving.
now.
Yeah, they're
than
doing
before.
fine. Yeah. Krispy Kreme, yeah.
Yes, yes.
They actually have a backup all the time.
Yeah.
They have a backup.
But so in Spring Lake, we have a mix of food businesses.
Right.
And like I said, some have been hit very hard and some have thrived. So it's unclear where that's going to go until.
Yeah, I can find that number out. All right, thank you, Mr. Aziz. So stormwater revenue and sanitation revenues, those are tax-based, meaning that we collect those through our taxes. We're forecasting a 5% decrease. Now, like I said, it may go up, it may go down. maybe, those businesses may help, the ones that come back online may help us overcome that 5% deficit, but we don't know. So we're projecting that down. Moving on, the existing debt. The existing debt on the general fund, which is the tax-based fund, that's about 2.7 million, and we have a debt payment of a total debt payment of $295,709, and we have that annual payment, and that was forecasted out to 2029. To 2029. So we're relatively stable there, just unstable on the revenue. And the water and sewer fund has a principal balance of 2.9 million, which is $238,000, which is mostly principal at the wastewater treatment plant, and that was for the upgrade for the front head works of the plant. So that was where that debt is going. And then the sanitation fund, it has a principal debt of $95,000, $49,000 a year. This is almost paid off, and that was for your truck, your knuckle boom truck that picks up your large bulk trash items.
So a little bit more than $500,000 in debt payment for this year.
Yes.
582,000.
Yes, that's correct, man. So back to the budget concerns. We have the shortfall of income, of tax income and water sewer income. Now this shortfall may be short-lived or long-lived. Like I said, Spring Lake is good because we do have a stable population of retirees and military folks, which is relatively stable. However, folks are not going out spending money that much, or they're helping family members, and that is what's hurting us. So we did the salary increase to keep our employees here, which raised our overall payment income about $1 million. So we have a shortfall of that. So what we're recommending is possibly a furlough. Now we did move forward with buying land for a new fire station, which we do need for our economic development. However, in bringing those people on, it's creating a pull on our resources as far as funding. Now, the fire department has here, and I will hand these out, where they did get monies approved back from FEMA in the amount of $227,000 for the first year, $227,000 for the second year, third year $106,000, which is a total of over $500,000, $560,000. So that is coming in. Now, with that being said, you can't necessarily count on that until it actually comes in. So we have to count it as a deficit now. If it comes in, like I said, midway the budget year, we can reset the budget to show that. But right now we have to show it as a loss. So what we're recommending is some sort of furlough plan for the employees. And I think everybody should be acceptable to that, including myself, in order to overcome that shortfall. Now, if we get this money in and the taxes come in like they say, or like Mr. Z says, maybe they will come in, then we could probably overcome that and move forward. Had the COVID-19 not been so devastating to the economy, I think we'd have been all right. So right now, I am recommending some sort of furlough plan, which I will submit, I guess, at the budget meeting where we go to adopt the budget. Now, I don't pretend to be the sharpest tool in the shed, so if there's some other way around doing a furlough plan, please, call me, talk to me, email me, and we'll go from there.
Currently, there's a federal unemployment plan that pays people $600 a week if they get fired or even furloughed. and that is going to continue until July 1st. Right now, a lot of people are actually getting paid more to not work than they are getting paid to work.
I need to get that plan, because I want to help out everyone who this is affected, so I'll talk to you offline.
Okay, but right now, Congress, they are considering whether or not to extend these unemployment benefits until January 1st. It's unclear whether or not they will be extended until January 1st, but if they are, that might obviate certain choices for us, right? It might make more sense for them to get access to that unemployment than to be furloughed.
Yes.
So you might want to temporarily just fire them and let them get that money and then hire them back later instead of furloughing them.
Okay. Well, we can, whatever way that, we do have a RIF plan. So, and I think it speaks to something like he's saying, if we do, RIF is if you do fire, furlough is if you just lay them off and you don't come to work. So we do have a RIF plan where you actually have a RIF policy and then you can bring them back. So we do have a policy for that now.
And that's part of this whole thing that happens there from the virus.
Right.
The next worst thing is being fired and can't support it.
That is, yeah, that's.
One thing to keep in mind though is that if you fire someone, there's usually going to be increased payments to the unemployment.
Yep.
And the unemployment, I think North Carolina pays 40% of wages. So we're probably going to pay that out of our pocket anyway. So like firing them won't reduce their cost by 100%, will reduce it only by 60%.
And these are the hard choices we have to look at. This is really what this is at. I know Mr. Z sounds cold, but I mean, this is really where we're at. I mean, you will really have to look at this because you don't have the income coming in. It's not that we're broke, it's you don't have the income coming in. You have to have the income.
Basically, the choice is, and Mr. Gerald says, Mr. stop saying that, is either we have two choices, furlough, or we just go back to the budget and just cut it straight down and be on a very, very tight.
Or you can just cut the service.
Cut services.
So you may not.
Be very, very tight.
Right, you may not only, we have trash pickup once a week, you may have to cut it back twice. I mean, twice a month. Or you may have, like, I know spring cleaners, we have a lot of pretty yards here. You may only get your yards picked up twice a month. So that's what you're looking at, less services or employees, that's kind of where you're at.
This will improve as the state and.
Right, the COVID, right.
We hope.
Right.
So we won't be so bad off to even if we open it up, we can't catch up.
Right, well, I mean, it's like a V, so it's gonna go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And then if you have an outbreak, not an outbreak, what do you call it? Like if it breaks back out again, then you know what's gonna go down again.
And that is the projection.
And that is, yeah, and I saw that on the news last night.
And that's what the projection is.
The W shape.
So that's literally where we're at. So I just want to give y'all this so you can digest it and think about it.
Now, who will make the decision whether to furlough? Is that your decision?
The board. I mean, I'll recommend whichever one, but it's whatever the board tells me to do.
Well,
And that's it for me. That's all I got.
that's why we were elected. They will be hard choices and hard and difficult decisions, but at the same time, everybody you speak to will want what they want.
Yes.
Right.
And that's just the nature of the job. Okay,
That's all I got.
Ms. Tucker. Now, how did you plan to present this?
Well, that's typically how we. Okay, let me say how we do it typically.
I mean, to the public, because all of this is for
Well,
their
this-
enlightenment.
Yes, sir. This is sort of new. All this technical stuff. So we'll put out, I guess, whatever you want to have us put out, and then Bernard will have to tell me or show me how he's gonna put it up on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. He's basically our public information guy. Him and Chris.
I mean,
So-
you could upload the document to the town website, and then you can on YouTube have a link to the town website where they can get access to these documents.
Sounds good to me.
that younger generation.
Right, I know, right?
Could we just take a break here? And taking this break will allow Bernard to reposition the camera, right? Can you tell if there are questions from the public? Has anyone sent any questions?
I don't have the town, I don't have the
You see
mic.
anybody chatting? Nobody's chatting?
Because on my phone it says chat publicly is loud dog. That's because my
You can
phone
chat
is
in.
Yeah, you're on
You
your
can
phone.
chat
You're on
in.
your phone looking.
You're on your phone looking at
I'm
it.
already chatting.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means then that there's likely at this time nobody else.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right.
they're not.
Well, this is still good because the public, needs to know. That's our obligation to them. So let us just take a break and you reposition the camera and then we can look at.
Is that when we come back to this?
Do
Well,
y'all
you-
want to look at these documents?
You can, but I was really giving that for y'all to go home and look at them.
So where do we go after this then?
So then you go after this, the next meeting.
No, I mean, after we come back from break, what we gonna do?
I thought you would just convene.
Oh, we done?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Oh, you didn't,
Well, then what-
you didn't say no, Gail.
What we can do then,
No, that's what I've been saying.
are we still on Bernard?
They don't like me right now.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not the favorite person.
Hold on, we still on.
Are we still public? Okay. Well, now that we understand, where we are in the process, I guess we can, do we get a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Okay, because we did open up and we have a quorum.
Yes, we did. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Alderman O'Gara, for, making this possible to be in compliance. So we will entertain a motion, unless there is nothing else to add.
I had a few questions about it, but I can ask that separately.
Well, with
You
question,
can answer.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. On not a page, but on Public Works, it said that last year we spent $9,886 on Public Works, and this year we're spending $98,000. Is that correct?
I think that's for the, is that for the road system? Is that for the roads we want to put
No,
in
I
there?
think what it was the department request. If you look, it's what the department requested,
Public works.
last year is what, they asked for, and this year they're requesting more, but I think those numbers, when I looked at that, I thought those numbers were kind of off, because I'm following what Mr. Watson had did for the last year request.
I think those were for the roads. We were trying to stick some money in there for the roads to be repaired, like New Street by the bank. That road was in disrepair, and then also the end of Odell Road. Now $98,000 is not a lot of money. I know it's not a lot of money to repair a road, but you could do sizable patches with that.
That's what the money's for. Why was it so low? Was it because of the budget concerns last year?
Well, no, it wasn't any, but we were trying to do economic
Yeah,
development.
but I mean,
So we took massive cuts last year for that economic development. That
This
big
is more of a
economic
return
development
to the
project.
2017 budget, right?
Say it again,
This
sir.
is more of just a return to the 2017.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Yes, sir.
I don't want to encumber you, but in some of your columns, you have your commas to separate, your amount. And one thing that kind of makes things look a little bit off is that in the second column, 1819, you don't have the comma.
Okay.
But in the 2021, you got the comma.
That's
And
me.
you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And I guess all you gotta do is just hit the column
Yeah,
and make
I
it,
can do that for
you know. And to me, that would let me know there's a beat.
Yeah, that's how I like it, because I do, yeah.
Okay, it's perception. Isn't it? Okay, Alderman O'Gara has a question. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. I was in the press, you all talking about the road here in Spring Lake.
Yes. Dr. Z. Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure we do not have the money to resurface, but we do need to do the potholes.
Yep.
At this stage in the game,
Potholes.
we need to do business.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Don't have much of a choice.
The DOT doesn't help with that?
DOT helps with DOT roads, but DOT took a cut, so, like, we need to, I know for a fact, we need to patch, we need to patch Duncan, cause I'm gonna ride out here to look at it, but the DOT has DOT control roads like 87, so right in front of the, right, and Main Street is one, but 3 big potholes are right there on 87 in front of, the Hampton Inn, or the Sleepy Drive. So that's a DOT patch, but we've talked to them about 2.5 weeks and we haven't seen any response, so we may have to do it because it's just dangerous out there. So that 98,000 is more so like a patch and cover.
Now, if we were to patch a DOT road, let's keep an account of it and actually settle with it.
Right. I doubt he'll do that, but like I said, we've been talking to him, and I'm gonna call him again today, and it's been difficult to get them out.
And the thing too, it's all about pedestrian and motorist safety.
Right.
To run a pothole of insignificant size, you're asking for a potential catastrophe. Depending upon how large or how small the car is. You remember at the bridge when that sinkhole, that was some damage.
Yes, sir.
So we have to also be aware that we need to protect the general public. I think that's our obligation too. Yeah. Because a pothole today could be a sinkhole, tomorrow, if not correct. And then people will be looking at Spring Lake.
Yes.
They can care less if it's
Who owns it?
87 or who owns it. That's just,
Yes, sir.
Alderman O'Gara,
Yes, sir.
did you have another point to make?
No, I was just glad I was able to sign in.
Thank you for doing that, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, at this time, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we, adjourn this meeting.
I second that motion.
Been moved and second that we adjourn this meeting. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Why?
3 ayes.